Okay, call the meeting to order and. All right. Directions to approval of the past minutes of April 1st, 2024.
Well, Sandam is actually two words, I believe, Sandam. Sandam.
Yes, it is. Any other corrections? Motion to approve minutes,
So moved. Second.
no comment, move on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence?
Okay, I have a bunch of stuff
Hmm.
and some of it, we can talk about later further in the agenda, but I don't want to forget anything. So number one, we have been asked to donate 2 t-shirts to a gift basket for the State Conference of Town Clerks. I just said probably everybody would say okay. And unless somebody wants to have a motion and
We'll make
an
a motion, make it,
objection, do you need a motion or just, is it okay with everybody?
we'll make a motion to donate 2 t-shirts to the group for town clerks.
Yeah, state conference.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, she wants like one of each color, and I'll have her take whatever size we have the most of, and that just sort of reminded me that one of these days we need to inventory what we've got left. We have a late minute, email today from Scott Bushy saying that they're waiting for a dry spell to work on the culvert, clear out the culvert, check it out about the erosion. So they're thinking July. And then Matt Quinn requests, back and forth with Matt Quinn, Paul had some questions about the signs. And back and forth with Matt Quinn, he said, I have enough budget this year and staff, we'll put them up. So
Oh.
give them back to us.
Oh, good.
So Paul put them to, they're sitting in the town clerk's office, they have not been picked up yet.
So there's one missing out of that.
Well, I put that email out about the missing one and nobody,
Oh, I guess.
I don't know why, and you know, there was a double for every spot you did an assessment.
It's different.
So there's a missing.
One road to the other.
Yeah.
Or from that road to this road, except from to,
Yeah.
or whatever, there's one. of
So
those
there's,
on the
when they
back.
put them up, they'll discover one is missing. I don't know if you can make more if they ask you.
No, but it's still gonna be up.
The state made them, we didn't make them.
Okay.
Did a deal with the prison people.
I was gonna say
The
yes.
inmates are the ones that made the signs.
Yeah.
So we'll probably never see that. other one.
So after.
Well, we can,
You took some pictures, you took some pictures of the real.
Yeah.
After looking at those, we didn't do anything to the old sign, because they were, the way they were mounted was different than what we were done.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they're gonna do it now, hopefully. So it'll be done the same way.
So tomorrow, I just checked with the town clerk to make sure that they were still there. And I'll write to him, maybe something else will come up tonight that I wanna discuss with Matt Quinn, but I'll just remind him they have to be picked up and put in. And then we also got an email from Mike St. Lawrence from Wyndham Land Trust. And he said, the Bull Hill East parking lot, we just received some reimbursement from Deep, so we plan to try to finish it early this summer. Lots of erosion on the road and mud due to the heavy rains earlier this year, but we'll get it done. And the Rhode Island Boy Scout property has not closed yet. The state OSWA dollars for another of our acquisitions has been delayed for all sorts of reasons which have now been overcome. So we expect the closing early July now. After that, we can start to see what we can do with the existing network of trails, at least the ones that have not been flooded by the numerous beavers along Blackmore Brook. So we just wait for them and hopefully they'll get us involved when they're gonna make the trails official. And I believe that's all the correspondence. Okay,
Okay, we can move on to finances.
I did not ask for your report because it's for, I have not been asked to sign anything, so we haven't spent anything except for John money. So it's about the same as it was.
Okay, so that's about $14,000.
Between 14
Yeah,
and
it's in
15.
the minutes from the.
Yeah, between closer to 15 if we haven't spent any.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Moving along, citizens' comments? Pat, you got any comment?
Do I have any comments? No, because I haven't been to a couple of months' meetings. I gotta get back into the swing of things here. To try to keep up with what's going on. I know I missed going to. When we were up on Route 200, when they went down the trails there. Yeah, I was babysitting in Rhode Island, so I couldn't get there, but, yeah.
All right. So we'll do trail updates on Airline State Park.
So a few of us went to you've got 12 town meeting, right? Yeah, that's up for us. Few of us went to that. What is going on here? Connecticut RC&D did a presentation on essentially really trying to launch the new Friends of group, which is what is going to grow out of the prior 12-town task force. And Connecticut RC&D is still administering that latest recreational trails grant for the creation of the Friends group. And, they're looking for at least one representative from each of the 12 communities.
okay, so Tara was there, Amy was there, John,
think I
Paul,
did.
I, and Charlie were all there. And my take on this is, I mean, the big thing that I think we wanna, know and talk about is there was a proposal made. The grant is for two years. And the proposal was, somebody from the Hop River came up with this idea that there be two sections of the trail that meet, 6 towns each, above and below Willimantic.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
not
right,
sure
yes.
Willimantic is part of the upper or the lower.
I think that's part of the.
Upper, so we would be with them. So 6 towns would meet on a regular basis. Do their discussions, things, whatever is in the master plan. And then those two groups would come together like twice a year. That's,
Quarterly,
no, I think it was twice a year.
For the full
For
group.
the full 12 towns. It wasn't cast in stone, but this is my
yeah,
understanding.
I
of what
heard
they
it to
suggested.
say, the group in the north would meet. The group in the south would meet, and both groups would meet. On a quarterly basis.
It may end up being quarterly.
I don't, and I don't know, they didn't hand out a lot of extra
This
milk,
this was just a proposal.
yeah.
So there wasn't, I didn't hear any objections in the room to the idea of 2 separate groups meeting, and it makes more sense for trying to get that many people together at some central location. So as it stands now, it was also suggested that there be 12 voting members, but anybody else could go to these meetings. And it sounded like it would be a good idea that those 12 voting members were somehow officials in the town, bringing together some kind of either engineering expertise, planning expertise, or whatever. So we have yet to hear back with an invitation, and then we will decide who that person would be. But anybody who's still interested in this can go to those meetings.
Connecticut RC&D has their annual meeting this week, and I'm on their council, so it's possible I'll have more information after that as well. I'm sure it will at least be touched on.
So if
Yeah.
anybody, I mean, most of us, half of us were there, but if anybody wants to, the master plan is from the previous 12-town task force is available online, so you can look at that, but they basically went, just, the meeting was basically running through what the results were from that first grant. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty accurate. I mean, I think the key thing from Connecticut RC&D's perspective as the grant administrator is that, you know, there really needs to be an active council, friends of whatever, in order for this to be successful. I don't think they're particularly interested in managing the whole trail
No.
like themselves. It's beyond their capacity.
And the other thing that was high on the list that was mentioned and then I asked about is the maintenance agreements.
Yes.
And I think Deep said they're working on it. And that they're actually, I thought it from previous that some of the towns already had. And they said no, that none of the towns really had a working agreement. So, you know, and that what that would be to define what the town is gonna do, what Deep is gonna do, what DOT is gonna do.
What volunteers are gonna do.
Right, I mean, I don't know we don't know in the other towns if they have active trails committees with volunteers. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Yeah, I see notes about it regularly. John probably does too. Different groups around, up and down the airline trail.
Somebody, she also said that she was gonna send us what they presented that day.
I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen anything either. but
I
she
don't
said
remember
everybody
if I
that
saw
signed
it
in.
sent around or not. I
Yeah.
get so much email, but it's probably not that hard to get it. I'll try to remember to remind Jocelyn at the annual meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, so we can move
A
on.
quick point to carry on from that. Whoever said that it was a presentation, that's the way it came across. It wasn't a participation at all. It was, here they are telling us, this is what we have in mind, now let's make it work. It seems to have good bones. It seems like we can make it work, but we do need that teamwork that was just mentioned, or they're going to have to do it all by themselves.
Well, there were a lot of, I mean, it's been a lot of years have gone by and Gene Davis took care of a lot of bringing it together, what was talked about before COVID, but now people have changed. It's
I
different-
understand
it's
that.
different people, that's why it was a
I
presentation.
understand that, I understand that, and somebody in Hartford might have been ready to sign the agreement and then retire.
Right, we don't.
I don't know, I just know that we put the same issues out when we got together in 2018 or whenever it was before this all went off the wheels.
It was 19, but yeah.
19.
What's that little bump in 2020? Kind of stalled everything.
Well, between COVID and the fact, the two real factors are COVID and Gene Davies retired and Lori Giannotti
And Laura
retired.
Giannotti.
So that churn of the people working on the project at sort of the chief administrative level was definitely a complication. Now, I think Jocelyn has wrapped her head around it on the RC&D end. I think Kim Bradley probably has as well. I think she was reasonably familiar with it anyway on the Deep side, but
Yeah.
Deep's a big organization. They've got a lot more than just who knows what the project is meant to be to deal with.
Well, yeah, not only that, but she came up from Connecticut Trail Finder, which was just one element of this, and now she's got the whole program.
Yep.
That'd take her a while to get up to speed, but.
Yeah, and she's getting there, definitely. I mean, everybody is.
Two other notes about the airline trail. When we were out there and doing the work on the ditches, and afterwards, John and I looked at some spots further north. It's occurred to me that because of us, we know where it would be really pretty if we just cleaned them up. That spot that you were looking at, if we just went in there and cleaned away some of the underbrush so you could see the stream. Those are the kinds of things that I think the volunteers can do for the airline trail.
So
The other,
I would say about that, Charlie, in that area, those are all invasives. So I think why I'm saying that is because I think we could probably qualify for some kind of grant or something for invasive removal, like that whole hill in there is all.
But that's part of what I raised the point at the
What is it?
meeting down in Willimantic,
What
is
comes
that
to-
we locally know where those issues are. And we need to be involved in the long-term planning. When the TAP grant came through the last time, it was, you gotta get it in, you gotta get it in, oops, too late. And they weren't responding. And this time we can get ready ahead of it. If it's let's get in there and dig out the invasives. That's a grant. We apply for it. We add it into it. We say, Deep, when you come up into Thompson, this, and this.
Does TLGV have a little invasives grant? It's a smallish one.
So there's money. We just have to be ready to ask for it. We need to put it into our punch list. And the last point that I have about the airline trail is that it appears that DOT is sandblasting the overpass when you're getting off of at Route 12. I say that, I haven't seen them actually working there, but they're stringing up the stuff underneath it like they did all the way up 395 where they've been doing it. If that's the case, I want to recommend that we approach Economic Development Commission and say we'd like them to cover half the cost of signs. Signs that say, welcome to Thompson, or airline trail, or.
If you're talking about the next fiscal year, there's not gonna be any money for match funds. That money is earmarked for the marketing campaign implementation.
That's marketing.
I
That's
suppose
marketing
that's
the town.
It is, you have a point for sure. I think the intent was the implementation of what we're actually paying to have developed right now, which maybe will include that kind of signage, but I think it was more about business development.
Well,
Just,
it's an opportunity.
don't get ahead of
If we get a
I guess is the point.
freshly painted bridge, we ought to put new signs up on it that emphasize that it's the airline trail, that it's the Rail Trails Conservancy core route, that it's, you know, whatever else it is. When we first started working on the train wreck park, Tom Chase brought over a file that shows the logo that was on the side of the steam locomotives that were involved in the wreck. And so they were on that right away. What was it? New Haven and Boston? The train that used to run up through there? Oh, I thought you knew more about railroad history than I do.
Something.
At any rate, that's just some of the signage, some of the marketing of the town, some of the reasons why people are interested in the town.
Well, that's a good segue, Charlie, because we're at the train wreck park.
Well, wait a minute. I just wanted, John was a little late, just to tell you that Deep is gonna put the signs up that Diane made. They say. And Scott Bushy got back to us about looking at the culvert when it's drier in July.
Okay.
Okay, now, the park.
Can I ask a
Okay,
question? Could you mention the signs? That's all the only reason why I'm saying. Also, there was one missing? Oh,
I
yeah,
already
they
We
did.
already
talk
covered
about
that too, yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm good.
But it was an odd number, it should be an even number, go one way and come back.
I wrote to him right after you told me and asked, is it sitting around your office? You know, you saw that. I see it too, so I got no reply on that.
It doesn't look like that package has ever been fully unwrapped, so I don't know where.
Has to do with tough people.
Mhm.
It's like blue table.
It came from the prison.
Karen put it.
Somebody missed it, so. Anyway, it's a souvenir.
All right, Great East Thompson Trainwreck Memorial Park Developments. We did receive one bidder on the construction of the improvements, the turntable and the parking area. Janet constructed the request for proposals in such a way that we could do a little mix and match in case the whole thing came in over budget. The whole thing did come in over budget, but we have isolated the components that will get us to where we want, which will include the train turntable and will include the parking area for sure. And Janet and I are meeting with him tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Paul, if you feel like tagging along, your presence is always very
On
valuable.
this side,
That's like,
At site, yeah. 1 o'clock, just to go over the details in their proposal and make sure that we're all in agreement on to which elements we're including and which elements we're not. I'm sure they're gonna need some explanation of particularly the turntable site, because it's not exactly your run-of-the-mill project for these guys.
they look,
They are out of Oakdale, Connecticut. They've done a lot of work in Putnam, apparently. Janet was familiar with them.
It's okay, I only have one better.
Well, the state doesn't prefer it, but I ran it up to the state and they said that's fine as long as you followed your own processes. They're familiar with CHRO stuff and all that, so it's all, you know.
So that's closed.
It will officially be closed as of tomorrow when it's awarded at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Oh,
If you have somebody that is interested in being a sub, they can contact the contractor.
yeah, my guys lives in Tennessee now.
Oh,
I was just wondering like how off were we on the bid? Because you said it was more than what we had. out
Well,
type of deal, and I know-
if we were to take everything, it was substantially over, but we have it down within $2,000 of the bid.
Okay.
So, and so we're gonna accept it at $610,000. Between the ARPA money and the CT Deep grant, we have 608. So I can solve a $2,000 problem. That's not a big deal. And there might be some wiggle room too in that bid. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It'll be formally awarded that evening at Board of Selectmen meeting, and then it's just a matter of setting the, getting the actual contract signed and setting the schedule with the guy, and that work's gonna get done this year.
wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
That's-
we were worried that we weren't gonna get any bids. If that had happened, we would have gone straight back out to bid with a timetable of starting in spring of 25. Because we ran into the same thing with the sidewalks. By the time we actually were able to publish, most of the contractors had set their schedules for the year already. So we were lucky to get them, and that one was a problem that we only got one bid. DOT is much more concerned about getting multiple bids than Deep was. So, but it's good. I mean, we'll see that actually happen, which is,
And they're gonna, after the contract is awarded, when do we expect them to start?
well, that's part of what we're gonna be discussing tomorrow, so.
But that parking lot involves some of the traffic calming.
Yes, I think mostly what is going to be done on the road is going to be done with paint. I do not believe we're going to see a speed bump there. But that's,
But- Something.
Yes.
is gonna fix
yes,
that a little bit.
yes.
The signs that are down across the school crossing area would be a worthwhile investment, because a pedestrian can push the button and get the lights. lit.
Yeah, there's no budget for that. Those are not cheap.
Sure. I can't,
Well,
I can't.
In the
walking my
abstract,
bike across that road and I hear a car coming around the
yeah,
corner.
in the abstract, I don't care if they're cheap either, but we don't have the budget for
Right.
it, so,
2,000 short right now, so.
right.
My question is, can you ask them tomorrow when you're talking, and I don't have a whole bunch of stuff, like if they're gonna close the trail, like if there's gonna be no parking, the only thing is because I'd like to put it on a social media stuff that,
Yeah,
do
we'll,
work in this.
we'll have to get, once they get going, they're gonna have to communicate with me on the regular because I'm the project manager,
Yeah.
so they're gonna have to keep me informed of every step.
Yeah.
And yes,
Because
when,
there's a lot of people who park there and walk
Yeah.
all the time, so if there's no parking allowed for a while, I'd like to get it out as soon as. we
right,
can.
and the downside to having it being done probably over the summer is that's probably the height of the trail use as opposed to in the spring or the late fall,
Gotta
but
Get it done.
you
Okay.
just gotta get it done.
They can always go down further, where that other entrance is way down, but what, is it 5 mile? Not,
Are you talking about the entrance on
Douglas?
Sand?
yeah, well, it's not quite Douglas yet. I think it's still is that Mass or already? Yeah, it's still Massachusetts, I think.
Yeah, that's in Douglas, I think, or Webster, it might be Webster.
Webster, right, there's
But-
that little bridge that you go
Yeah.
on, so there's parking there, people park
To
along
get
the
to the
road.
tri-state market, right?
Yeah, so,
But we have a lot of people who park in that, but sometimes I drive by,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's 8, 10 cars there, like on a Saturday, that's nice.
Wellston,
Yeah,
there's gonna be room for 20.
Yeah, no, so I don't care where, it's busy time, not busy time, let's get it rolling.
There's actually some town-owned property that butts up onto New Road up in that area. I think it's that big right of way where it comes right down to the road.
I don't think they own right up to the road. We have an easement on the guy's driveway that goes up,
Oh,
that crosses the stream.
no, I'm talking the other direction. I'm talking about coming over to New Road,
Down on New Road.
okay? And so you're coming, you can't cross over Rocky Brook,
Yeah, we own part of it.
but the town land comes over and it comes out like a panhandle down to New Road.
It comes out to a point, but then you gotta go onto the guy's driveway to get up. I don't think we own right up.
So much for that.
Sweet deal from somebody I was talking about, how they could have been more town.
I know there's no parking there.
All right, what about the bike repair stations?
So I have to order them before the end of this fiscal year, so I really just need to put it on my to-do list so that I don't forget.
Isn't that like 27 days from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That you are exactly correct.
Okay, and I'm assuming that these are the signs that you got, Lyanne, the last Green Valley assessment signage?
That's what they're talking about, Macklin installing.
Yeah.
What will
Well,
probably
fine,
happen
but
is
it's
I will
in-
probably
Okay, well,
order
that's what I
once we
thought.
have the
Alright.
contract with, because they need to install the one. So
Yeah.
that'll be the prompt.
Maintenance work days?
So I don't have anything planned, I don't have anything on the agenda, or what do you guys
Do
think?
you want to report on what you've already done?
Oh, well, so yeah, we can, I'm sorry.
No.
So we did have a work day. We had one other person show up besides committee members. Local guy who lives on the trail. I've actually run into him since then, and I actually ran into the other guy who's building the, we walked on his land, remember that time through the bush down by the Quinnebog River? Where you and I went to look for a boat launch place on the Quinnebog
Yes.
River in Quinnebog.
In Quinnebog, okay.
But I ran into that guy, and just while it's on my head, and I know I'm changing subjects quickly, but I told him to see you because he told me he had a concern about where the trail was gonna end over there and people going over his property and him getting sued or something. And I said, there's something you need to talk to Karen about because there is some kind of agreement that if you let the public
Right,
have a right of way or access or whatever, that there's some,
so he was willing as long as there was not liability.
well, and I only talked to him quick because him and his buddy were riding their bikes and I was on the
I
trail.
don't know.
Donovan? No. that's
Jason,
the road.
Jason LaValle. He's the
Is that his
contractor.
name?
that's
It was the
building
contractor that walked with us. So I told him to get in contact with you. This is only a couple weeks ago, but about that, because he was concerned about liability and people going across his property, so. What we did is, we did some drainage cleaning, along both sides. Not really behind the condos, I'll say north of the condos a little bit, and we kind of came to about where the condos were. We did both sides cutting brush, and we did the side where the condos are, as far as mostly pulling out a lot of leaves and debris. We had to chainsaw some of the debris just had to be lifted out. But we did a big section, and that's the section where the trail is not. The drainage ditch is not really so much lower than the trail, so when it gets backed up, it would go onto the trail, and it had washed out all the stone dust on that part of the trail, so. I haven't been up there, we haven't had the rains that we've had, but hopefully when we get a heavy rain, it's gonna flow through rather than go across the,
Well,
Trail.
it's supposed to get some rain this weekend, so
yeah.
5 straight days coming, rain.
Is it 5? Yeah, okay.
Thursday through Sunday. it looks like.
If we'd like to do another work thing, we can plan one. I mean, I'm open for anything as far as that, and I think that I would like to kind of continue down past the condos at least, because from there. The drainage ditches really go below the trail, so I think we could like kind of end with that part, not that we're done by any means, but.
I like that idea, John. That ties also in with what I suggested. There's a stream there. It would look pretty if it was cleaned up and if people could see it. And if in the process of cleaning out the ditch, we make the area more accessible.
Is this
It's
the
the
same
kind of
area
thing-
you were talking
And
about?
it
with the
would be a
invasives?
rough draft.
No, that's more up by 200 and the highway interchange where we have that flooding. All where that stream that comes down that Charlie's talking about that's all invasives in there. I think
Oh.
it, I don't know all the invasives, but I think it's barberry, I think.
But barberry is the one with the sort of
The
little
red.
oval red
Yeah,
berries.
pretty sure that.
Yeah, but they're not red, yeah.
No.
No, but that's how
the
most
protein
people
and that they
identify it.
people-
I think he's right, the drain has gotten choked out by the silt, and it's got choked, good space for this things to grow.
Charlie and I went and looked at that area over that he's talking about, and I think it's all clogged with soot.
Yeah.
Because it appeared, it wasn't flooded at the time, so it appeared like the water was kind of swirling down to go under. And I was trying to clear out a little bit of brush to get a closer look, but the bank was kind of steep and I only
Yeah.
had hand clippers. I
And,
didn't-
and nobody had ropes,
Yeah.
so it wasn't the kind of thing that I could relay him and hold them.
But I wanna take a better look at it when it's dry too, so.
Okay, we
that'd be
just
good.
have to remember, like, if it's something we can just do and not ask permission, or if it's like what you're talking about, get a grant for invasives, then we have to go.
Oh, yeah, if
through-
we need money,
We have
that's
to go
different.
through deep for permission for major.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood.
Right.
But if we can go out there, a team of us can go out there with clippers and saws and the next time you go down the trail, you say, oh, I didn't know that was all.
build them.
There's some really neat stonework down under there too. I've been, I park the bike and get down and crawl down the hill and see. But I went the other side of the hill.
How much do you
John.
think we get done?
I went to the other side of the hill, where there was nothing growing in the way.
Yeah. I don't know how much you think we get done, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
100
let's-
We didn't go.
150 yards or something, I don't know, it was a lot of work, we did a lot
Oh, yeah.
for what we did.
As far as our maintenance, when we were at that 12-town task force, I believe they said. Anybody's doing any kind of work on a trail, they wanna know about
Well, yeah.
And it's not,
They
But-
know we're mowing, I mean, they
Yeah.
know that.
but it wasn't to get permission, it was just that they wanted to be aware of it, is what I got when we were talking to that man about it,
it.
right?
They
The guy
did
from
something
Putnam?
with it.
No, it was somebody from one of the speakers that spoke. And we
Oh,
were talking about maintenance and how we, we do this and that, and she said something to
That
the
was
effect that,
Oh, it would have been Kim. Yeah.
yeah, she was just not like, I need you to get permission to do that stuff, she's just like, we wanna be aware of anything that you're doing on there,
okay,
that we know,
I'm
that's the
gonna,
deal.
I'm gonna throw out an off-the-wall suggestion about long-term maintenance. I saw this great poster, highway roadside, instead of having these grasses that they have to mow a couple times a year, they planted native flowers all the way down the side of the road. It's beautiful, and they don't have to mow it. And if we had those along the side of the trail, even a half a mile of it as a test example.
Yeah, Charlie, it's not the side of the trail. it's
I
the
told you it was off the
trail
wall.
Itself gets grown.
Some places, yeah.
So
We
if
get-
you wanna do an impromptu work day when you're free and you put it on Facebook and just send an email out to the committee? Or,
Do we wanna, like,
I mean, you have
Look
to
at a
look at
day?
the weather, you wanna pick.
Do we
did
need
the
to
rain last
know
time.
first, because
so again, here's my thoughts, and I didn't wanna, cause I know something will come up, but I don't have anything on my calendar for Saturday, and it's supposed to be crappy weather, so I'm thinking about going and mowing.
I have my 53 Union in Waterbury.
No, and that's fine. I wasn't even looking, I mean, I'll sit in the thing and go. I was just my thought too. It's gonna be not so good a weekend, and my wife and I actually were just talking because every weekend's been full, and we looked at it and we're both like, there's nothing on. She's like, it's Father's Day. I'm like, no, that's the week
Is that this
after.
week?
That's the week after,
It's next weekend?
16th, right?
a week from Sunday. So I'm like, there's nothing on my calendars, and then it said rain, so I'm thinking about just going and doing some mowing down where I broke it last time.
So just to take the conversation back 1 second to the area where there are invasives that have
Yes.
been identified, and I'm sure there's tons of them.
Hmm.
So since Lyanne is here, A, what are the amount of those grants? B, what's the time frame?
The max is 500. The time frame work has to be done by September 15th. Get the paperwork in by the end of the fiscal year.
Oh,
And is it just rolling, or do you have a hard deadline on the applications?
We still have money, so the application is still open.
Work done. by
So what I
Wednesday.
don't know is how you would determine what the costs would be that you would be wanting, and that, which might be why you have money in there. Probably people don't really understand how to calculate the costs on removing those invasives. I don't even really know who you would ask.
Well, this is part of the cleanup money.
Yeah.
Not specifically invasive.
But that, that was articulated in that grant, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought so.
I guess my question also would be on that is like, what do you have to do to? What's the removal process?
Right.
Some things you can cut down at the root and it'll be gone, other things you gotta pull the root.
Yes,
out.
they'll come back to the root.
Right, so the question is, who is the qualified individual who can give you the estimate and the work plan in time to come up with an application, which, as long as it's competently presented and TLGV still has money, you probably get the money. But that's always like, I don't know, like our permaculture guy's back in Illinois, he's not doing any work on any of these other projects, right? You'd have to get some kind of landscaper. Or you know who you might ask?
Donahue does a lot of work around.
No, I wouldn't ask Donahue because that's not his area, but you know who you might ask is this guy who's got the business of the month on the sign here, Arbor Active, lives over in
That's
East
the guy,
Thompson.
John.
That's the guy.
That's
That's the one who showed up. and
We
helped
met
us.
him out on the.
Oh, it was
trail, and
Greg.
I said, "Get
Yeah,
involved."
his name is Greg Corso. Yeah, wicked nice guy.
He helped us on the day. He saw it online.
Yes, and that is right up his alley. So
Okay.
if
It
you
is.
get
He
in,
told me
if
3
you get in
times.
touch with him and tell him what you're interested in,
What's
he
his
can,
name?
his name is Greg Corso.
Yep.
His
Arbor.
company's name is Arbor Active. They are currently on the sign. And he might,
Yeah,
yeah.
he lives in East Thompson, right along the trail.
Yeah.
He
Wicked
writes-
nice guy and he's wanting to get involved, so.
He worked really hard that day for us. He really did. Like he cut a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff down and brought it. to
Yeah.
us.
So,
Hi- Highly recommend looping him in, so.
yeah, when we met out on the trail, I said, get in there and talk to people. I sent them to talk to you, but I sent the other people afterwards and you.
Yeah, he and I have talked a bunch, and he was at the most recent 65 Main thing too, so he's looped in on this stuff now.
That's right, I remember seeing him there. I
Mhm.
had to go to the other meeting, but I had a slice of pizza.
Okay, so you're gonna get in touch with this guy
Yes,
and.
and I'm gonna tell him that we're
work
gonna,
Maintenance. Work of maintenance and then get $500 from,
Well,
I don't know what.
let me
I
talk,
mean-
let me talk to him first.
Yeah.
Maybe I can meet him over there. We can have a discussion about those invasives and then I can send some information to Tara. I'll tell him about the possibility of getting some type of a grant. And what we could do with that.
It's on a reimbursement basis.
Right.
So, yeah, you're gonna cover gas and
machine.
whatever saw blades or
Right, so
whatever.
it just
but
ends up
not
being
like
an
a
offset.
chainsaw.
Yeah.
I just need to know,
Yeah, so we have to have
Ideas
him
of
look
what-
at it as if he was pricing it out for us as a customer.
Yep.
And when he says X number of dollars, we can say, how about if we were your work crew?
Well, what even with the X amount of dollars, I would think we could put the money up.
I
If
think
we
so.
know that we're gonna get reimbursed for it and then
Well,
it's just.
It's not gonna be 15,000.
It's only a $500, like, we're not looking to take
Yeah, yeah,
all of it
yeah.
out. That's.
Yeah, that's why
Like just.
you,
what
you've got to
fits that-
identify a discrete area that you think you can manageably clear. Right, what's the remedy? What are the costs? What's the work plan?
How do you keep it from coming back?
yeah,
Yes,
But wait a minute. If we're got a target of $500, then I'd like to make a motion that we allocate $500 to be available for this project if it should happen to be in his schedule before our next meeting. I don't want to wait until August to decide whether or not we can move forward.
Lyanne, is it a one-to-one match? Or is it just it's a one-to-one match, right? So it's really, you'd be allocating 1,000 to get 500 back.
no,
No, it's
No.
not in this case. This is just
Yes.
an award.
And
Okay.
that's the amount that I heard, and I think if we earmark that amount. We should be able to move forward with confidence. Maybe even get this thing done before July.
Well. Let me ask him too, because it might be better to remedy it, whatever, I don't know, like after it starts to die off, like, there's some different things with different stuff, so again, we'll see what. he
Yeah,
says on that.
yeah, see what he says, but the sooner we can get it out, and especially if we get it out by the roots. Less likely it'll be a problem.
I'll get in contact with him, he was a nice, really nice.
Yeah, wicked nice guy.
person, Very nice.
personable.
He
and
worked very
high
hard
energy.
for us that day too, and that was the first time he met us.
And he just moved here.
No, he's been here
I
about
think
7,
he's
8
been-
years.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
wanted to get
He's
involved. in
what I
cities.
think
ride
his-
Bike a lot.
He lives on
Trail.
Lavonte Road.
Yeah, what I think he's just done is just started this
Business.
independent business. I think previously he was doing forestry for a guy, a company or something. Oh, and he said he was involved in transportation planning somewhere too. So, yeah.
He does wood, firewood, because I said, oh, we get a lot of wood on the side. of the
that-
trail
He does.
if you want," And he
That's
said he
right.
has a ton of wood.
He does firewood, he does mushroom logs, he does.
Yeah, that's right, mushroom logs, we talked about
Yeah.
that too.
Second,
Second,
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Motion-
good, now we can move with confidence.
What are mushroom logs?
When hardwoods are inoculated with
Fungus?
Spores.
No,
yes,
Spores of edible mushrooms.
Well,
You
my
can
s-
have- you can have a
mycelium,
year's
technically.
supply of mushrooms in your back porch.
right, okay, all right.
Culinary mushrooms, you know, the kind that you go out and spend. 10
Well, isn't that
bucks
what
for.
he's doing out on the,
The guy on the
Oh.
sign?
yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
the
one,
guy
yeah,
we're
that's
talking-
one of his
yeah.
businesses.
Yeah, now, I knew you were talking about him, and I said, wait a minute, he's talking about mushrooms, yeah.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
Got it,
wood products.
Also,
Okay,
it's-
we're getting off of the track here.
Sorry.
65 Main project site walk.
So officially set the date today because there were a few dates in June in play. And the date that had the most interest was Thursday, the 20th at 6 o'clock. So Maura Roby from ECCD will lead that site walk.
20th,
Yep,
at what time?
6, so that people have time to get home from work and stuff.
how bad is that?
Sunday.
I've only been down there once or twice, and as I recall, the poison ivy is worst actually closest to the building. Although I'm sure there is more down there. But you know, all the usual safety warnings, sturdy shoes, bug spray.
no slides, shorts.
I wouldn't recommend it.
High
Uh,
boots.
Yeah, it is,
Pain is the body's way. of-
the hard part is getting down there in the first place. There's no like direct easy grade to get down there. You kind of have to thread around the
So what
back,
would-
but once you're down there, it's pretty
So
navigable.
where would we meet?
So you're just gonna meet at 65 Main in the backyard with Maura, and Maura will lead you down.
Okay,
Just so people can get an idea of, you know, how much property's down there, what it looks like now. It is kind of interesting down there. The more disturbed area is the area closest, obviously, to the road because of the construction of the houses over the years or whatever. So that is where you see the most of the invasives, of the poison ivy. Once you get down in there, there are still identifiable invasives, but it's, you can see the wet area much more clearly. There's a lot of tree cover. And you get a nice sort of view of the river from there. So it will be sort of interesting for the people who are involved in following that project. And then, as we know, we've got grants in the wind for getting some of that site work down. One of them, we've crossed the first threshold, and it's a big one. It's when the actual final funding award is made. So that was, for those of you who don't know, I passed up an appropriations request through Congressman Courtney's office for about $730,000 to complete the structural renovation, but also I used Wayne's estimates for the site work, because that's all I had available. So it would get a substantial amount of the site work done as well. Congressman Courtney accepted that and did pass it up to the Appropriations Committee, which is the major hurdle. In practice, once those are accepted, they get funded, whether they get funded the full amount or when it actually happens. In theory, it would be by the end of the federal fiscal year on the 30th of September, but Congress isn't that high functioning right now. They continually pass continuing resolutions. the staffer in his Washington office said the latest she'd ever seen one pass was March of the following calendar year.
Oh.
But whatever, like I say, the first hurdle's been passed there. So some kind of funding is going to come out of that. At the end of June, the Lowe's Foundation should let me know whether or not they're going to give us $300,000 for the structural renovation. That one's a long shot. I don't really expect that one. The one that is of most interest to this committee is the one, the application we made to the Kubota Foundation. So that is, it's more like a contest than a grant, the way they run it. I sort of carved out a little area in the landscape plan where we think we can sort of get a discrete amount of work done for either $10,000 or $50,000, because the way this award works is they choose 2 finalists from each of 10 regions across the country. Those 2 finalists, once chosen, are guaranteed to get funding. First place gets 50,000, second place gets 10,000. It appears to be unrestricted funds, not reimbursement. Just once you're awarded, they give it to you and you just do what you tell them you were going to do. The announcement for the Kubota grant will come on August 1st while I'm on vacation. So I'm going to have to be checking my work email. And actually it was Maura, ECCD was the lead applicant because we needed a 501c3. So Maura will have to email me to let me know on the 1st of August. Anyway, so if we're chosen as a finalist on the 1st of August, from August 1st to August 14th, there's public online voting. And that is how they determine their first and second place. There was a lot of words for that. But because it's a private foundation, those things also move very quickly. So if it's awarded, it probably is a very quick contract. And then in the fall, we could get the American Chestnut Foundation hedgerow planted and the greenhouse ordered and installed and blah, 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 blah. It's got to all be done within a calendar
We
year.
would know on our next meeting.
You would know by your next
Our
meeting.
next
yeah.
meeting's the 5th of August.
Yeah.
That's right.
So fingers crossed on that one. And then I'm resubmitting that CIF grant for the 3.8 million, but that's less trails related. That's does have a 65 main component, but that's mostly the road surface and sidewalks for Main Street and the 2 little veterans parks, Swanson Park and the No Name Memorial at the northern intersection of Routes 12 and Main. So that's everything related to 65 Main and Main Street that could intersect with trails or the 65 Main project that's in the wind right now. There you go.
In the wind or in the hurricane? That's a lot of stuff.
Feels like a
Okay. So we're on to the Wyndham Land Trust with Claire Boy Scout land acquisition.
Well, I mentioned that I read the email from Michael St. Lawrence, and that's not happening. It hasn't happened yet. We expect closing early July now. So,
Okay.
He also told me that after the closing, of course, we will put our heads together and figure out what can be done with that trail network. And I'm not going to jump in front of him. I do suggest, though, anybody from this town or neighboring towns that's interested in the project should start thinking about it, because when it comes around in July, the announcement's going to be made. I'm going to reach back to Michael and say, let's get together and have a beer and talk. Because I met a woman in Rhode Island on Sunday. Her name is Kathleen Gannon. She's the board chair of an organization called Rhode Island Bicycle Coalition, which is sort of a descendant of an organization that I was with when we started way back in '92. We called ourselves the Greenway Alliance of Rhode Island, or Gary. I was with that group until I moved over here, and shortly after I moved here, they merged with another group into this. Very interested in bicycling and hiking opportunities and very familiar with what Rhode Island has on that side of the border. Those are the kinds of people we need to be looking for. If we can't meet in July, we can meet in August. Because what Michael told me is that it was just a snafu and a bureaucrat, and now it's all clear. That's why he told Karen and I both that we expect closing to be in July, probably early July.
Is that the Boy Scout land you're talking about up by the tri-state? No,
this
that's the one over,
Leclerc,
Pardon?
Leclerc, it's, you know, where the Leclerc Preserve is.
no,
It's located on the other
Aquatic-
side of Aquatic Farm Town Road and just south of the Aquatic State Park. And then it goes right up to the top of the hill and over. Some other group bought the property on the Rhode Island side.
okay.
The Connecticut side required a grant that was coming through deep from Washington, I think, and it just stalled. We know about projects and bids and things getting stalled because somebody's gotta, all they gotta do is sign it.
I'll just say for anybody who hasn't been there before they closed it, it was a lovely trail that Al Landry went up and he sort of, he didn't blaze it, but he figured out what the route was. There are open areas and like woodsy roads up there through there. So some of that can be taken advantage. I'm not sure where they're talking about the flooding, except right down at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
sure either.
But what I would say is like, we can help advise and talk to Wyndham Land Trust about routing, but it doesn't have to be like an official, it can be people here that are interested, you know, it doesn't have to be official trails, because it's their property, it's not gonna be our trail. Whether he's gonna want help with maintenance, we can discuss that later, but I think, you know, anybody who wants to put their input, if they're not interested in that part of town, it doesn't have to be an official town. I mean, our trail committee saying this is the route you should take.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
have
think-
to be a Trails Committee route per se.
Right.
It could
He
be,
might, well, if he it depends on what they want to partner with,
yeah. It should be.
but I mean, because we had originally. Figured out where the route was.
Yeah.
And we've walked it a couple times way back and it's pretty confusing. We didn't know where we were in Rhode Island. And where we're off the Wyndham Land Trust property, so we're gonna, you know, they'll have it surveyed, I assume, and we'll know better where. Their property is.
Exactly, and especially when we're working with somebody from Rhode Island to get it done. They know where the path goes to.
Well, this Kathleen Gano, she's not affiliated with the group that bought the property though, right?
No, she's affiliated, and you go to their website. Yeah,
No, what, I mean, you might wanna talk to her about making contact with the people who bought the other piece.
oh, yeah, whoa, a lot of the other side of it's already owned by Rhode Island.
That's
got-
what I'm.
Rhode Island already owns a lot of property over there. They own the Pulaski Park and they own the
Yeah.
Buck Hill Park.
But what I'm saying is, use your contact in Rhode Island to find out who owns the abutting land that we might want to route part of the trail through. That, you
It's a
know,
team,
it's
yeah.
gotta come from Rhode
It ain't
Island.
gonna happen by the end of this calendar year, I promise you
No.
that.
Right.
But the
It's a
sooner we
big
can get
piece of-
started,
it's a big piece of property. It's not gonna
it's a
happen
big piece
overnight.
of property. Okay,
Okay, moving on, Connecticut Trail Day.
We didn't have an event.
Oh,
I had a chicken barbecue.
That's an event.
Yeah, well, I had that and a 5K I did in the morning for suicide awareness.
okay, we're on to Community Day.
Okay, so I've been to a couple of meetings, so this is both. I'll talk about it out of October. We just had a meeting. What the rec department is putting together for October and will submit to the West Green Valley by June 15th. Is a Village Improvement Society Thompson Hill tour. We are not involved with that. On the 25th, rain date 26th of October, we're doing this cemetery walk again where Joe Martino will present a program. This year it's gonna be at 6:30. And we're talking about. So what we did last year was basically. Did sweep after the people and we did parking and stuff and anybody, it's a great program Joe does, and if anybody wants to be involved, we have a couple meetings before that to decide who our volunteers are.
It was quite
But
interesting.
they're talking about possibly buying another speaker to, like something that doesn't have to plug in, that but will talk to our sound, the speaker system that we bought for the truck. So anyway, I'm just gonna put it out there that maybe we want to contribute funds to a new purchase for an additional piece that goes with the speaker, and they were looking at it's like maybe $300. So maybe we would be splitting it again with historical and rec. But what happens now is what we have is it's gotta be the what do you call it? The thing that the transmitter has to be plugged into something, and we don't have a way to,
They need,
it's not a good.
they
for
need,
walk-
they need a battery pack lavalier is what they need.
I thought ours was bad.
That, or do we need a battery power for the amplifier?
No, that has a long battery,
Okay,
but what we've used it for so far, we've always had it plugged, the thing plugged.
Didn't I use it?
Hmm?
I think I borrowed it for a funeral for the fire department. We had one of our members pass away, and we had, again, a tradition in the fire department is your last call, and they broadcast it, and they wanted some way to broadcast it. So I did use that. I worked with Brian. And it's battery. We use it in the cemetery. didn't plug
I
it in.
believe one of the reasons that unit was purchased was that was the same one that Gary, or a similar one to the one that Gary brings on his remote stuff when they're just doing simple things, not the ones when they're broadcasting from the truck. And he said it had a nice long, it was very similar to the one that they used at the Blaine Road Bridge opening,
Oh,
right? I think that was
Yep.
Gary's.
yeah.
And that it's a similar, if not the same model to that one. And part of the reason was because it had such a long battery life.
Yep.
But the lavalier, something you can walk. You probably is better range. But
don't know.
that's why that's why Amanda's or
We'll look
whoever
into it.
has to have Bryce look into it.
Oh,
So Bryce is our IT guy, AV guy,
okay,
and he,
I'm just putting it out
knows.
there that we might want to dedicate some funds to make this
Yeah.
more usable on walking tours.
So as far as the walking tour and the speakers, someone had mentioned, can't you just use your phone and do like a Zoom call or some kind of YouTube
to
thing
this.
where they could talk and people could just listen with their phones?
it almost sounds to me like the real problem is having something like a wireless and battery powered Wi-Fi router. You gotta
I
get the
don't know.
microphone signal to the amplifier.
that's what the lavalier with the backpack would do.
Okay, so that's what it is. It contains a Wi-Fi router that's battery powered.
Then you're gonna love that speaker thing.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about getting a trolley for the speaker thing and lugging it around as Joe goes down the.
So someone had mentioned the
It's a
phone
tough
thing.
place, it's a
Everybody's
tough
got a
place to
phone.
wagon with something,
Yeah.
because the road is not, it's not paved. And at 6:30 at night, it's dark.
Well,
And then I already suggested that they stop it at a certain amount. You
Think-
can't have 100 people.
I think they should have people
They
pre-registered.
talked about that in the meeting we were just
You
on.
can't have 100 people.
The
on
problem
a
with the
night.
phone
Right, that
tours,
was a lot. I'm trying to keep
the
people
problem
off
with the
those.
phone tours is at night in the dark,
Every
if
time,
people
yeah.
are looking at the glow on their phone,
yeah,
they're not gonna see what's around them.
Right.
Listening. You're not playing your phone.
well, not everybody's gonna
Right.
have that.
But I think that's.
Who doesn't have
If-
a phone?
I like what
I
Kira
would sit
said.
down
We've
with
got an audio visual guy that really knows that
Well,
the
that's it.
Well,
component they're
so
talking
they-
about solves the
We're
problem.
gonna let Rex solve this problem.
I'm not at all
So-
opposed to
So we
supporting.
might want.
Do you want me to, do we need a motion for money to be part of that. I
Well, if
guess
it's
would,
under 200, I'm authorized to
okay,
say, okay.
Okay.
And then I don't think it'll come up before the August. meeting.
okay,
So, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can definitely put that off until August, because
okay.
Right.
even if they come back and decide that they want to invest in a more robust system or whatever, if you're ordering from someplace like Sweetwater or B&H, which are the sort of the two big AV distributors, then, that stuff ships right away.
We're done with that.
So the other.
Slow down of everything.
The other October event she's posting is the Community Day, and so Historical's doing a shuttle again to the museums up at the school and a walking tour of the Mill area. I'm asking if you wanna bring the trailer to Community Day, do you want a trails presence there? We would have to plan that.
Leanne, do you know if, Last Green Valley's coming in on Community Day?
They always do.
I don't know that.
I think it's already on the calendar,
It could be,
because I think somebody already signed up for it.
well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because I conversate with Bill and he tells me when there's like local ones around and if
Yeah.
I want to be the event manager or whatever to help set up and blah, blah, blah. But I think somebody did. I think it's already on the calendar and somebody signed up to do it. I'm not sure.
So, I mean, with all your other commitments to other
I can't-
organizations on Community Day, I'm asking if people are interested in
So
having a trails presence. I don't even know if I'm gonna be in town that day, so.
I can't because again, I can be there to help, but I also have cookout that day for,
all
the
right,
fire
I mean,
department.
I don't know how important it is for the trailer to be there. I mean, if anybody's got comments.
Too bad you didn't
I gotta wait
do
till
that
closer to
cookout.
the time. I have other things that
Maybe.
may.
it's just not our region. It's not.
I usually work for Community Day.
So we'd be selling stuff.
Well,
Again,
I'll be
all the fire
I'll-
departments
I'll-
will get together
Well,
and-
when that up last year, so.
I don't
We
know if
get
it's
along.
worth our time.
With stuff, but
So,
I think when money is involved is where the pucker gets tighter, I'll just say.
Well.
Because no one wants everybody,
if
you
the
know.
Last Green Valley is
I know,
there,
it's a limited pot, I know.
Yeah.
I hear you.
right.
I'll look on the line and see.
So, I mean, rec department could sell the t-shirts too. doesn't-
Because I
I don't
can
even know.
be there to help, but again, I'm leaving there to go to a fire
Well, all
department
right, I
cookout,
just,
probably
somebody
early.
here has a strong feeling and willing to take it on, then we're not gonna have, okay. That's all I'm asking.
But turkey trot,
Oh, yeah,
we gotta wait.
that
for
time of
it.
year, wake me up, okay. Yeah, it's not much going on yet, I never saw the press release of the photo from Teague and the Villager, and Brian Levency says he didn't see it either,
I-
so,
Pretty sure I saw it.
yeah, this year.
I feel like I did.
I don't remember seeing it, so we're not sure
don't
about
either.
that. I updated the sponsorship letter, it was getting awfully wordy and the print was getting small and small. He likes it, so he's gonna print it out or a form of it, and we will start mailing out the sponsorship letters. Hmm?
Is it confirmed with the dam?
Yeah,
With-
Yeah, that was
okay.
confirmed months ago. Yep, it's down there November 10th. So sponsors is the next step, looking for new ones and making sure we get as many of the old ones on board. Publicity, we started the event that you were at. I believe was the one in Oxford.
It was, and
Yeah,
they were there. I-
And
yeah,
Amanda brought 160 save the date cards to that. to start
saw
things
them,
rolling,
yeah.
So,
I kind of spoke to them about that too, only because this was their first event and they actually gave swag bags. And I don't think they put them in the swag bag, like
Oh.
they had it like on the table where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had stuff. And
yeah, it
I-
helps to
again, there
go,
was a
go in the
couple things.
bag.
I told them I like recommended like how we do the, so it's like Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem. And I said, they didn't have it for theirs, and I was like, maybe next year you can have Oxford, somebody from the high school, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, cause it's a big thing, so it was their first year doing it, so.
Sure.
They actually did good, they had, I don't know how many runners we get, you know those numbers, they had, I wanna say 190
Wow,
participants,
more than that's more than what we get.
that's what I thought,
Bigger
yeah.
town though, but.
Yeah, and I paid day of, I just did the walking because I thought they needed me as a volunteer, and they did it, it cost me $40
Yeah,
day of.
$40, wow.
Yeah, so, and they had race wire, the same thing that we
Yeah, I don't
have.
wanna raise our rates, so I think that's.
No,
in
I'm
this
just,
town.
yeah, I'm just saying, but I was hoping that we can, if we're gonna have swag bags or something, if we could put our, if they could put their save the date thing,
In
if
ours,
they gave us
sure.
copies.
But we don't have swag bags.
Well, whatever, however, even if we put them on the table, I don't
Yeah,
care, cause
yeah.
you know what I mean, just
Oh, yeah.
advertise for them. they
Happy
just-
to, like, I think I mentioned, the run for Ryan when I speak.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
happy to
coming up
publicize
next
any of
month.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it.
Okay,
Okay, so we're on to social media, PR, outreach, maps, brochures, flyers, bike route maps, yada, yada.
I just brought 64 Explore guides. They're out on the bench. if Anybody's looking for them.
Oh, good.
did they get?
I usually keep a couple in my car,
Explore guides.
explore guides. Yeah.
Yeah, they get mailed. I got mine already. I got mine last week.
Yeah.
Maybe my shoes too. Check on that.
Bike routes. I have a project that I started on before COVID hit.
Wow.
And before our friends at Connecticut Trail Finder figured out what kind of app they wanted to use to map things. These are the roads around town that I've ridden. But I don't have the mileage on all of them. And I started, suggestion was made that if I brought a map to use to start this idea going. Well, I stopped by and got duplicates made and the color didn't come through. When I started this, I was told that, and I'm not sure if it's the app that they finally selected for Yukon, but there was one group that said, doesn't matter, it can be hand-drawn map and they can import it into their software. I don't know if NECOG can import these or any parts of them. I started working on downsizing them. And I'm perfectly willing to let Jim Larkin see if he can scan them into his software. No software that I have will do it. I now have the app and I'm starting to ride these again. But it's gonna be a while, because my knee bothered me all of
Well,
it.
I think it's a good idea that we have some kind of a bike route map. And I talked to Jim Larkin at NECOG. And he said it's possible that they can help us do this like they did the trail map years ago. And so he has all these map layers in his computer that he can start with. So he would have all the roads and some of the trails, because he's done that. And if we go to him with our hand-drawn map, he will see, you know, what we want to do, and he'll tell us if they have the ability, which I'm sure they do, to do this. And then what I think we want to talk about here, if other people think it's a good idea, that we then provide either a scannable or printable map of a bike route. I think that's something we should be supplying.
I agree.
So,
Part of what I was hoping to do with this was identify points of interest, whether they're historical, natural beauty, places to go, kayaking, anything that we have as part of the wayfinding program, whether it ultimately winds up with signs along the road that are pointing to these same things, or whether it's something that I can pull up on my phone and say, okay, I want to go riding, and oh, what's this thing say? I'm going to go over to this road. Gee, I never knew that the guy that invented the covered bridge was born here. I don't even know for sure where he was born, just that it was in the town. These are the kinds of things that I have to connect bicycling and economic opportunities. We made a decision in this town that outdoor recreation was going to be our ticket to transform and have a profitable future. And there are additional opportunities that are opening up. We really don't do ourselves any justice if we just stand by waiting for the next person to figure it out. I don't know what in the world I'm doing, but I'm trying.
Well, what I would say is the next, is you should continue to work on that as you can. And then we'll see if we can get a meeting, you and I can go talk to Jim Larkin. And see, and they're, you know, they're not gonna turn it around overnight. So we'll see what they can input and what they can output.
Yep.
And your new idea that you're adding about doing historical, about different places, having a discussion, that's gonna take some
Research from us.
editing, right? And I don't know if that will come later. I
Sure.
think. Let's.
Well, the
see
whole thing's
if
gonna
we
come
can
later.
get- Well, let's see if we can get like small printed maps that would be available here like we used to have, plus something that maybe is downloadable on our Facebook page. I don't know.
Well, we
Links.
got our town's website page where we can download most of the maps that are on.
Oh,
it.
right, we'll add a link to that.
The airline trail map did not download yesterday for some reason.
I don't know how that works.
Can I ask a question? You said there's an app? What's the app?
Hold on. I think it's called Strava. Yeah, Strava, Strava. That's the one that the Connecticut Trail Finder group decided on to, and they recommended it, so I can take this data and upload it. I know that way it will overlay into their statewide maps because this is the app that they wanted me to use.
Okay.
If they had known that back when I started the project, it'd be done.
Maybe it
I
didn't
got a
exist
really
then.
better wheel.
It didn't exist.
What's that?
The Strava probably didn't exist back then.
Well, there were apps that would do it. All Trails had one. You know, there were several apps around that would do it, but they had to make their decision before I knew which one to invest in.
On this map you have, it's different colors. What are the colors?
Different routes. But mostly the green ones were for the quieter side roads. The ones that go all the way across town, I was thinking they gotta be orange, but then when I put I said, oh, I had that orange and now I'm going on the green route and that's defeats my purpose, so.
So social media, I'll just say, I mean, it's, we've been putting stuff on, not like crazy, but again, we have a lot of interest. There's usually always people who like things or comment on things, and that's how we get Greg to help. He private messaged us and said he wanted to help, and he was a member of town, so that stuff's been working pretty good. Again, we didn't do a Connecticut Trails Day, so I didn't obviously post anything on there for that.
Karen, whatever your schedule is, make an appointment with Jim Larkin and I will have this ready to hand to him and completed copy. At least all of the smaller maps, which I'm trying to separate out the color themes. So that you can see, oh, if I gotta get through Thompson in a hurry, this is the way to go.
Okay. Reports from neighboring towns, we know,
Becky
I
dropped
already
off.
gave you the one about the Rhode Island bike code.
yeah, and you gave the 12 town report, so.
I just want to say, I don't know, I heard from somebody the other day that Dudley tarred their path.
Yes,
Did they really?
I don't know, I read that on Facebook too.
Yeah, somebody said that. I don't know if I don't walk any of the Dudley trails really.
That gives me trails to assess,
Yeah, I was just kind of like, wow, I didn't even know that was happening.
Wait a minute, what?
and I
That
couldn't find
Dudley-
it again.
Quinnebog bike trail?
I don't think it's Quinnebah, it's the one that's
It was
in,
Dudley, and it
Or
would,
the Quinnebog River Bike Trail. That's what they call that.
maybe.
He's up
And
that.
So
that-
French-
and there was another one, there were 3 different parcels of.
they go along to the Quinnebog, I know what you're talking about, yeah, I don't
the
know
one
if it,
that comes to.
from
Connecticut
Southbridge
and
into
then
Connecticut
stops.
stops.
Yeah.
Trail.
And then on the other end, again, they also continued that trail
Yeah.
from the other end in Dudley to Webster.
Yeah.
The, but I heard they tarred it, so I don't know, I haven't been on it or seen
They're
anything.
doing
but-
it like now.
Yeah, Somebody said that, there was, I don't know, a few.
Where else I read about
complaints about
a
it.
trail that was being paved, and I was surprised when I read that. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't that one though.
I'm just surprised that they're paving only because in Dudley, they got that bridge that's there right along the road and you can't cross that bridge. You literally go down like an embankment to get to that trail or up, I think, to get to that trail. And in Southbridge.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it comes to West Dudley paper mill and then it goes across the street and there's a bridge there that you can actually walk across, but you're walking on steel beams. It's not really conducive. I think it's just getting off. But I'm just saying, I'm surprised they tied that and that the bridge is still not done, but they do a lot of stuff with trails.
The, Putnam, I talked to Bruce. The-
Bruce is in their land use staff, Bruce
Yeah, he was
Fitzpatrick.
at the 12 town meeting and he's still working on trying to figure it out, but he said the railroad didn't want to work with them at all.
No.
Basically,
They don't.
so he was trying to figure out an alternative.
They're worse than the Department of Transportation in general.
All right. Moving on to Connecticut Trail Census.
Okay, so Angela Nealand and I are going out and sitting there and doing the counter. We're half through the 10 hours.
Thank you.
But if you want to do some, you can do
I
some.
do want to
Okay.
do some, I truly do. The timer works, I check it every month, I check the Porta John and pick up litter and trash. Oh, and footnote though, we need a new sign that lists the restaurants. There was a QR code sign, I don't know who put it up, but it's down.
Can I ask a question? What do you have to do for that? You're just marking, right? Because they're calibrating it to make sure that it.
Right, so
and-
it's kind of frustrating. We're just sitting there, bring a chair. And as people go by, you have to write down exactly the time that they went by. So you need your phone and you have to start on the hour and finish on the hours, which is pretty frustrating because you see 5 people coming. Hurry up, and they don't make it to the counter in time. So I have walked by the counter a couple of times when we didn't have enough hands to make it feasible. But it's all right. It's like Angela's there doing the count. I walk by the counter. But you know, she was done and there were 50 bicyclists coming. You know, and that would have been a good thing to get past the counter and see if it's counting.
Right.
Who's next to each other and stuff. And so we don't. So it's really iffy when you go out, whether, you know, she did a
went Saturday and
Saturday and I did Sunday in the middle of the day. You know, I had 13 people go.
She had
by.
9.
Yeah, so it's not heavy traffic, you know, you get what you get.
Depends when
on
you
where
go. I walked with my family to the Tri-State Marker. I want to say there was like 6 or 8 of us that had gone, like my cousins and stuff. I think we passed like 10 people on the trail that day. It was on Sunday morning.
Well, if you're going out again, tell me, and maybe I can sit there.
And be sure
all
to,
you
be sure
need
to
is
arrive
Numbers
on the
of
hour.
times- Numbers of times when people go by the town.
I can just send you my numbers and the time.
There's a
Yeah, or
form.
there's a form, I could
There-
give you the link to the form, yeah. They can give you a form. I have a blank one, I have one blank one, I can give it to you if you think you can go out, so we need to get 5 more hours done.
I don't know about 5 more, but I can maybe get 1 in.
Yeah, well,
And one is better than none.
yeah,
That's
we're getting there.
what Karen points out, it gets frustrating because you gotta do a full hour or 2. And,
Right, I
you
mean,
know,
if you get there at
it
5
is-
minutes after the hour, you blow it because it doesn't, you can't do
So
it.
the
You have to
counter
wait for the
counts
next
it.
hour.
The counter counts it, but
Yes.
you wanna know the times?
We
Also,
need-
it's to look at the time the counter's recording and see if it's seeing the 2 people that went by that you've recorded, or the 5 people that are abreast. And whether the
Oh, so
counter
sometimes
is
it's not
doing.
picking up everybody.
No,
We don't
well,
know. That's why we're
it won't
calibrating.
pick up 2 people walking side by side.
Okay.
Because all it is like a little infrared beam that you break. as you
It's
go
an
by.
infrared beam, and even bicycles that are a little bit off, it won't necessarily pick them up.
Put a sign, please walk. on.
Little fire.
Sign.
Oh, walk this way, please.
Yeah, walk this way.
Say, don't go- You know,
But,
One guy dropped his shirt and he went back and I'm watching him come. couldn't get there in time.
I'd go just to watch you guys. I do think over by that, there's a little bit of stuff that might need to be clipped over there. Next time I
Yes.
walk, there's a couple little.
Now, it's right after you cross the
I'd
road,
like to
right there,
get to
right?
that
Yeah.
point right up to the crossroad. On that side anyway, and it's all state right of way,
Well, let's see once the thing gets, the
yeah.
parking lot thing gets going, but yeah. But I can clear a little bit by that.
So it doesn't count people that come back, right?
Either way.
It counts anybody that goes by it.
I mean,
and-
most of
and-
the people that have, it's like they're going. one
Right,
way.
I met a guy one time that was coming from Douglas.
Yep, it'll count them. Anybody that goes by the counter. The thing is, if it's not calibrated correctly, if it's not reading everybody, then they're not gonna get the information for their, so they want 10 hours a year where volunteers will sit there and double check the counter.
So if you're gonna do it, or you're gonna do it, just text me, so I tell Angela, so that we're not duplicating each other going out there. That's all I
Okay.
wanna know.
You know, I could do it in July or August or something. I can't in June, but,
Well, I'm hoping we'll get done before that.
oh, okay, you only have to, okay, yeah.
No, I don't know, I mean, it depends on.
Get
the
ready to
weather.
go to Colorado,
Okay,
so.
we're on to equipment, tool status and maintenance.
Are you taking the trailer to touch a truck? Nope. So it's not going? Okay. Oh, I gotta go over there. I said I was gonna maybe go out on Saturday, but when we did the last trails cleanup or whatever, I took the tools and I'm not gonna lie, I was tired. I just put them in the trailer. I didn't hang them all up and nice and neat, so. I was gonna go there if you were going to touch a truck before the touch a truck, so it wasn't
Where is
necessary.
it going?
It's still at the fire department. The chief has not had a problem with it being there. It's not in the way. I currently don't have a truck that can tow it. So if I'm gonna mow, at least from there, I can get right up on the trail.
New truck?
I have a Jeep that I love driving, so I don't drive the truck as much. And then the shifter started to get a little sticky. And let's just say that somebody else in my household tried to use it. And they tried to shift it, but it wouldn't shift, so now I think the truck doesn't realize that it's in neutral, so it won't start, but I just have to, I've.
So right now, I'm the only transportation for the truck.
Yeah, I need to get under there and lube the, there's like a cable that does that, somebody told me that they think, again, because of the year of the truck, that stuff gets a little corroded, especially if you don't use it as regularly as you did. So I gotta get under there and spray, so, you know, it's on my to-do list. Yeah, my Jeep can't tow that trailer. So, but that's why it's still at the fire department, the chief was still fine with it, and like I said, I can still do maintenance things as far as if I have to get up and get on the trail. It's right around the corner from there.
So tool status, equipment, that's, maintenance, do we need?
That
anything?
stuff's been good, we still have fuel in there, I mean, we only use a little bit of fuel really on that,
Okay.
trail workday. So I think we're good on everything. So it's just the hand tools I need to hang those back
All
up.
right, last but not least, new agenda items for future meetings.
Oh, I already asked about touch truck, that's what I'm. It's not happening.
None heard. Next meeting's August 5th.
August 5th. Got it.
Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
8:22.
All in favor?
Great, for 9 o'clock.
Opposed?
Because there's no game.
If you're opposed, you can stay here.